Getting to the overdrive portion of this, when you engage the overdrive, like I said, when the overdrive's not engaged, your signal comes out from the input stages, goes up through here, through the switch, and then into V2A, and then on through the rest of the amp. When you engage the overdrive, it changes our structure. What ends up happening is that V2A here, what is currently the second gain stage when we don't have overdrive engaged, becomes the third gain stage. So engaging the overdrive basically brings this triode, V2B, into the picture, and it brings it in before V2A. It's like kicking an overdrive in front of your amp. We're going in front of this gain stage. So when the overdrive is engaged, our input stages, everything stays the same there. So that's our input, our first gain stage for the brilliant and normal volume. But then our second stage becomes the overdrive stage. It comes in here. This switch would be switched, so we would not be taking this output directly into V2A here. We would be taking the input into V2A out of the output of V2B. So this switch, this line, would be connected down here. So what happens is we're getting a lot of gain from this overdrive. We have a bypass capacitor that increases the gain. We have a 1K resistor. We have a 220K ohm load resistor here. I'm not going to do anything to change capacitors here. I think they're fine. What I am going to do, and I'm not saying this is a solution for the amp ringing. If you want as much distortion as you're getting, as much overdrive as you're getting out of this circuit stock, you don't want to change resistors. You would start putting in capacitors, taking some of the high end down to ground, or going around the plate load resistors to get some of that, limit some of that high end to get rid of the ringing. Like I say, there's way more gain in this amp than I need, and I would rather reduce the gain and not start messing with dumping high end off. That's a sort of decision and a compromise you make when you're balancing your tone and the amount of gain you want. I think I can get the sort of gain that I want out of this amp without resorting to setting high end to ground. So what I am going to do, and probably what I will stick with, is I'm going to, again, change this resistor out. I'm not going to go lower. You could go down to 820 ohms. 1K is pretty close to that, so I doubt there would be much increase in gain, and I'm not trying to increase gain in this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 2.2K or maybe a 2.8K in here, and then see where that leaves us in terms of the ringing situation. If it's not ringing, and I'm getting the gain I like, or maybe a little more gain than I want, that's okay. I'm going to leave it like that. If I'm still finding it's too gainy and it's ringing, I'll probably go up to a 4.7K resistor here and see what that does for the circuit. So you can see here's that 2 microfarad bypass cap and the 1K resistor, and this is the cathode circuit for V2B. You can see it going down here to pin 8 on V2, which is the cathode of the B side. This is where I'm going to reduce the gain and consequently, hopefully, reduce the ringing. So the stock value is 1K. Like I said, there's just way more gain than I need out of this amp. So I'm going to try 2.2K in there. See what that does. If it stops the ringing and gives me a little more gain than I really want or need, or overdrive, I'll probably leave it there anyway, unless it's really still extreme. If I still find that the overdrive is really extreme, I'll try a 4.7K in there and see what that does. So we'll go over to the bench now, and I will start changing those components. Stick with me. We'll get there right away. Okay, so we've done the playing around with cathode on V2A. Now we're on to the overdrive circuit, which is on V2B. So we're going to start messing with the cathode resistor on V2B to reduce the gain, to try and get the maximum gain a little more under control, and to reduce some of that self-oscillation. As I've said several times already, the way it is right now, there's way too much gain in this amp for me anyway, and rather than trying to snub some of the high end with capacitors and take some of that high end to ground, I'd rather try and keep as much of that content in there. It's very extreme upper end frequencies, but still on clean sounds. I find that makes a difference. And like I say, this amp has more gain than I need. So my solution is going to be to reduce the gain to where I feel it's a good level, and then see if we still have any ringing or not. Maybe I need to put a snubber capacitor in there, but we'll see how that goes. I've got everything right now stock. If you look here on the board, this is the 1K resistor we're talking about for this circuit. I'm going to put a 2.2K in there and see where that takes us. If it's still ringy and I feel I have too much gain still, I'll put a 4.7 in there. Probably won't go smaller than a 4.7. It really depends what the gain is like. But we'll see how that is. So right now, again, here is the amp stock. I've got the overdrive circuit switched out right now. Normal volume is on full, bright volume is on full, master volume is on full, and all the tone controls are unchanged. So here's what we get right now. So it's good. I like this. I like the stock amp the way it is when I'm not using the overdrive, and as I've said, I'm not changing that. Let's bring the overdrive in. So I've got it turned right off right now. I'm going to take this up. I've got the guitar volume down. I'm going to see how far I can take this overdrive volume, and if this starts to self-oscillate with the guitar down. And yes, it does. So when I get up to about, what is that, about 3 o'clock on the control, it starts to self-oscillate. So right now, even without a guitar signal going into it, I am getting some squeal and feedback at about 9 on the, or sorry, at about 3 on the overdrive with it switched in. I have gone over the lead dress, like I said, and got that as clean as I can. So we're looking at what to do to mitigate the issues now. So I'm going to take this overdrive back down. I'm going to turn the guitar volume back up, and then see how far I can take the overdrive before I start getting some ringing. So right now I'm at 9 o'clock. Just about halfway. Yeah, I can hear it start ringing. I'm at about, I guess that would be probably about 11 o'clock on the overdrive. Not quite halfway, and it's just coming into ringing, you can hear there. Okay, so let's see how much gain that is. And that's about as much gain as I would want out of a stock amp. I like that. So what I'm going to do is start playing with this cathode resistor and see if I can get it so that I have approximately that level of gain when the overdrive is full or close to full. Also, again, sitting close to the amp, I'm going to get more ringing sooner than if I were farther back. I will take the overdrive up. Let's take it up about 3/4 to about that 3 o'clock position where it just starts to self-oscillate. And I'm going to back up, and we'll see what happens when I turn the guitar volume. Yeah, okay, I get feedback right away. So this is far enough from the amp that I would not want that feedback. So you can see that, and it's changing as I move around, and it's way more gain than I would use. It's more gain than I would use for a rhythm guitar part. For a solo, I might use that kind of gain, but I usually set my amps so that they get the kind of crunch that the most crunch that I would want on a rhythm part. And this is more than I would use on a rhythm part. When I want a solo, I usually kick in an overdrive pedal anyway. I know we've got the overdrive turned on here. My plan with this is basically to set up so that with the overdrive disengaged, I have a clean or just on edge of breakup sound, and then the overdrive just to kick it over a bit for crunch rhythms. So as I say, I'll be using an overdrive pedal when I want to get solo saturation. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to turn the amp off, and I'm going to try that 2.2K resistor in here and see what that gives us. So turn the overdrive off and down again. Amp is off. And let's swap a resistor. And always remember to unplug. Even though I have the amp turned off, it's a good idea to unplug it as well. You never know when you'll bump a switch and not notice. Soldering iron cooled down a little bit. There we go. So generally what I do is I take the component out, and then I'll use the solder sucker to clean out the hole. It's just a little easier than trying to suck all of that solder out of there when there's component leads in. Okay, let's desolder this. And again, I'm going to just tack solder these components in until I decide which one I'm keeping, because I'm going to be taking things in and out of here. So there's the 2.2K resistor. I don't have any, I only have these metal film ones, which nothing wrong with them. The metal film will have less noise. The carbon comp or you know, any of the carbon style resistors, to me they do have a slightly nicer tone, but they also are noisier, hissier, shot noise they call it. The metal film don't do that, but because of the construction of the carbon ones, it's like little grains of sand packed in there, and when they get excited with an electrical current, they can vibrate a little bit, and that's what gives you that sort of hiss from them. You also can get shot noise, which is that sort of crackling kind of frying pan sound you can get from them. Being that this is an overdrive, I'm not as concerned. As a matter of fact, it's probably a better idea to use a metal film resistor in there, because it will be quieter, and the overdrive by its own nature will bring up your noise floor anyway. So probably a good idea here. Okay, so tack solder that in there. You think about doing some soldering and something, you go, oh, I don't want to go to all that trouble. That's how hard it was. What have I spent 2 minutes doing it? And we're ready to test this out again. So this won't change anything about the sound of the non-overdrive sound. So I'm not going to show you that again. We'll just go right to the overdrive and see what we get. And we're going to do the same thing. Keep the guitar volume down first, and we'll bring this up and see if we start getting any self-oscillation. So, oh, maybe I ought to turn the overdrive on. Okay, there we go. I can hear the hiss coming up. Yeah, so we start getting some oscillation at about 4 o'clock on the dial, almost full up. It starts to self-oscillate. So we got a little bit higher before the self-oscillation. Let's turn the guitar up, see how far we can go before we start getting the oscillation there. So coming up close to half. Yeah, get about half and it starts oscillating. If I back up, let's see. Yeah, it drops off when I back up. Let's just see. I'm going to take this up again to 3 o'clock and see what happens back here. Yeah, so we're getting some oscillation still here. Let's just have a look. Okay, so take that back just to the edge of the oscillation, and pretty good there. I'm going to take it back up to the highest I could get it. It's about 3 o'clock, 3:30, and back up. Okay. So you can hear that. I'm going to take this back. That's still more gain than I would want. You can hear when I started playing, especially the low notes, you could hear them kind of get, it starts to get constrained sounding. That's blocking distortion. Basically what happens is we're just forcing more signal through that circuit than it can actually handle itself anyway. It's not a very usable sound unless you're Neil Young. No offense, Cinnamon Girl is one of my favorite songs, but that's a pretty ugly tone in a good way. So the 2.2K did not change things too drastically. I'm still liking the gain, you know, when I get to that edge of it ringing. So I'm going to try the 4.7. I'm actually thinking I could end up going with a 10K in here, at least for now. We'll see what happens. Another thing that I can do is if the 4.7K gives me the kind of gain and crunch that I want, but I'm still getting self-oscillating and I don't want to lower the gain anymore in there, I can put a resistor, I can put a capacitor, 0.001 or 0.002 capacitor across the plate load resistor for that stage, and that will take some of that high end to ground, as I mentioned before. Like I said, I want to try not to do that, but again, this is the overdrive side, and taking a little bit of that ultra high end off on your high gain sounds isn't always a bad idea. It can get kind of buzzy with that there anyway. So let's see. We'll try the 4.7, see what that gives us. If it's still too gainy, I will try the 10K. If that sounds good but I'm still ringing, I will try that capacitor across the plate load resistor. So plans changing a little bit, but we'll see what we get here. And there we are. We've got the 4.7K in. This section's going a lot faster. Okay, so we've got this in, powered on, and let's see what we're getting. And again, we're just going to deal with the overdrive engaged, because that's the changes we're making will only affect that side. So same test again. Let's see if we get any self-oscillation here. I've got the guitar volume down. We'll bring the overdrive up. Maybe I should take the amp off standby too. Okay, so there we go. Start bringing it up, listening for the hiss to start getting louder. Yeah, the hiss is coming on. Okay, I get still about 4 o'clock before it starts self-isolating. Let's see what we can do with the guitar volume up where we get. Not quite halfway, so it's still ringing a lot on us at a relatively low level. Let's see what kind of gain we have. Ooh, I like that. I like that so much I might leave that. I'm going to try a 10K in here, see what that does. If I like that as much as this, I'll leave the 10K in, and especially if it gives me a little more room on the overdrive travel. If it's still ringing there, I think it probably will, we're going to try that capacitor across the plate load resistor. Wow, that sounded good. So sometimes more is not always better. You know, I've got the gain cut back a fair bit in here now, and to me the tone got way better. Speaking of tones, I will do the features run through on this amp. I wanted to get this stuff dealt with before I do that though, so I've got one more video about that. Once I'm done this, I will be done either way today with the overdrive situation here. But then the next thing I need to work on is just calibrating the effects loop. So I had some issues with hiss, and I misunderstood part of what they said about setting it up. So it's not as hissy as I thought. So I think I just need to kind of tweak that. So that'll be a pretty quick video. What I'm going to do is put a scope on, and I'll put a signal into the front of the amp, roughly the peak level of a humbucker pickup, and then I'm going to use the scope to check what our signal levels are before the effects loop, then on the send of the effects loop, and on the return. So that'll be a pretty quick video. I probably will shoot that. I don't think I'll have time to shoot it this afternoon anyway. It'll be out a week or so after this video comes out. So if you're watching this video, the next one should be coming pretty shortly. And then after the week after that, or 2 weeks after that, I will do the features. And then I'm going to do some shootouts too, between some of my amps that I built, and my vintage high watt and the Triwatt, and see how that sounds. And I don't know how long I'm going to be tied up with the Triwatt, but this has been a really good project. Okay, so I want that was a 4.7 I put in there. Yeah, I thought I brought a 10K over. Oh yeah, there we go, 10K. There are many ways, many solutions, many ways to resolve an issue. My solution here is I'm reducing the gain. Not everybody would want to do that. Like I said, this amp just has more gain than I really need. So I'm happy doing this. This is not a compromise or something that I'm doing just to make it work. I'm taking the opportunity to also tweak the tone and the sound of it. So that's part of this. Having all that extra gain in there and getting into that blocking distortion, that's a sound that very few people would ever use anyway. So why have your amp able to do that? It would not be because, you know, using a single coil guitar has lower output, because that's why I'm using this Telecaster for it with these single coil pickups. By the way, these are Nordstrand pickups. Kerry Nordstrand custom wound these pickups to my specifications. I don't know Kerry personally myself, and I did not know Kerry would wind guitar pickups. I mean, it's the same procedure, but my brother said, hey, would you like to try some Nordstrands? I said, sure. Can he do this for me? And a couple months later, I got these, and they're great. And they're a mid-range. They're not a very high output pickup. So back to my point, I'm getting more gain than I need with these pickups. So it's not a situation where I'd want all that extra gain because I might use a low output guitar. This is a low output guitar. All right, so we're back. We got the amp on. Same thing, we're going to check for this self-oscillation. I really am thinking that the 10K on there is going to at least deal with that self-oscillation issue, but let's find out. So bringing the overdrive up, I can hear the hiss starting to come in. We're going to get close. Yeah, we're at about 5 o'clock where that comes in. So we are going to try that capacitor as well. Maybe I'll play around a little bit with the lead dress again, but I've already done that. So let's bring the guitar up. Let's see how far we can go before we start getting ringing with the guitar volume up. Yeah, we're kind of still in the same territory. I can move, you know, and it's very sensitive. Okay, yeah, now just that little shift, I now get up to, what is that, 1 o'clock. So I'm going quite far right now before it starts to oscillate. I bet you just moving a few more inches is going to give me even more. So, yeah, okay, I'm at 2 o'clock. Let's see how much gain that is. Okay, so you can hear that floofy, that what's the tone they use? It's flubby, a kind of flubby sound there. So that's more gain than I would need. I'm inclined to maybe leave it like this and just live with not taking the overdrive higher than, you know, 2 o'clock. Probably could push it a little more if I'm a little farther from the amp, but again, that's more gain than I would use for rhythm. I would use that for solos. So but that's not what I would use for rhythm. It's not bad, it's just more than I would use. So I'm going to take this back. Let's take this overdrive straight up to noon. The reason I'm having trouble with the numbers is the amp's upside down in front of me. You think you get that straight, but try it. Okay, so here we are. Oh yeah. I love that. I love that. That is... Oh, that was ugly. Haven't used the neck much on this yet. We're there. I'm going to try that that capacitor just for giggles. We'll see what that does or doesn't do for us. So let me turn the amp off. I'll show you what it is, where it is. So yeah, I got a 2.2 right here, ceramic. So that's across this resistor right here. I don't know if you can see it under that wire, but that's the plate load resistor for V2B. So I'm going to just tack this in. If that works, then we'll go whole hog here. Okay, so that's tacked in there. We'll fire it back up and we'll see what we get. I'm actually thinking I'll probably like this a little better. It was a little bit sizzly the way it was. I sure liked the roundness of it. So this might take a little of that sizzle off, and it could be just the trick. It's a little woolly on the neck pickup, but like I say, I haven't dialed the tones yet anyway. So the sound, the way we had it, I don't want to mess with that. I've got the overdrive halfway up. Right now I'm sitting closer to it, no oscillation. So it has been fixed to a degree. Oh yeah, I'm sticking with that. Sweet, that sounds good. Let's just see, where can we go before we get oscillation? Okay, lower frequency. Okay, if I'm not facing the amp, I've got the overdrive full up, and it's just starting to go. If I come closer to it or take my hands off the strings, but right now I've got the overdrive full up, which is probably where I would never use it. We're not oscillating unless I come close to the amp and do that to any high gain amp. You're going to get feedback if you do this. So let's see. Okay, you can hear again, it's constricted. It's kind of getting almost fuzzy. It's not a sound I like. I don't really like fuzzes either. So this is way more gain than I would use, but it's not oscillating right now. It satisfies, ticks all my boxes. So I'm going to stick with this at least for now. It's really fluty on a neck pickup, even on the bridge pickup, and of course it'll feedback if I take my hands off. But it's a lot of sustain. Now if I take the guitar volume down, but leave that much gain there, no oscillation. Where am I? I'm about halfway, guitar volume's halfway down. So we get some usability, some range there. We can go more gain than we would want, and we're not really having issues dealing with the amount of feedback we get there. Single coil, so I'm getting hum. So this is totally acceptable. I like the tone. I'm sticking with this. I gotta solder that capacitor in there permanently. Let me just take this overdrive back down. Let's see if I still have the non-overdrive sound that I liked. Yep. Stuck on this a little bit. It's staying that way for now. It's actually reminding me a lot of the really great high watt I never should have sold back when I was still on the road. That was a later high watt. It was a Bia Crown high watt. So there are different eras of high watt. The one I have now is one of the ones that it's from what they call the highlight era. Those are the most well known. The nicest sounding. Bia Crown would be second. The Bia Crown high watt I had in the 80s and toured with for a lot of years was really great, and I never should have sold it. It had a tone I really liked, and I've tried to get that tone ever since, and this is sounding like that. So Stephen, Trinity Amps, thanks for this. So let me get the guitar off here. I'm going to solder that capacitor in permanently, and I'm not going to show that on film. I think we're done. I think, like I say, I have to calibrate the effects loop, but I'm going to play it, like I say, the way it is for now. If I feel like I want to change it, I'll make notes of that and sit with it. Probably leave it this way for 6 months at least, and start using it over in the studio, doing things and see what I like. I'm really looking forward to doing the features review of this. I'm also really looking forward to doing the shootout, especially between my vintage Hiwatt and then the Pistolino and Jagster, the 2 amps of mine, my design that I'm still using. I just got to hear this again. Yep, it's good. I'm getting a little bit of ringing on top of the note there. It's because I'm sitting so close, so back up a bit. Clean it right up. And that's another thing. Any amp you have, if you find it's, you know, on the edge of ringing, that's pretty common for high gain amps. When you're close, you get some noises or feedback. You kind of got to live with a certain amount of that. So this amp is done. I'm good with it. So I'm going to load this stuff. Got a big thunderstorm coming. We're at the beginning of June here in Canada, and it has not been very warm until the last few days, and now we're into the late 20s, early 30s Celsius. I think it's about 26 or 27 today. It's quite muggy, and just in the last hour it's gotten really dark out there. So I think there's a big thunderstorm coming too. So for this one, I am pronouncing this done. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Please check out my band One Soul Thrust. All the links are down below. Check out Trinity Amps, made to be played. I will be calibrating the effects loop, finalizing that, and getting ready to do these shootouts. So again, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any ideas, things you'd like to see me cover, let me know. I do read comments, and I will respond with a video if I think the idea is really good. Thanks a lot.